everyone, welcome to Comic Artist Pro Secrets. I'm Ethan Van Sciver, and back in 1996 I was working at Harris Comics on my own self-published comic called CYBERFROG, and I got to do a 4-issue miniseries that I was paid very well for, and it sold pretty good. I mean, not for the time. I think for the time the numbers were disappointing, but the first issue sold 80,000 copies. This was the 90s. That was a disappointment in the 90s. Amazing. We did a 4-issue miniseries, and then they said, hey, let's do 2 more. And we were courting toy companies and everything, so they wanted to keep the comic book kind of going until a big payday happened where everybody, we successfully got a toy and cartoon deal, an animation deal underway, and we got really close. So they asked me to do another 2-issue miniseries, and I was more than happy to comply. This is CYBERFROG Reservoir Frog, #1. Here he is. Now, what you'll notice is that this is not my artwork. Well, not really. This is actually the artwork of Eric Larson. This is a nice wraparound cover that he did. And I remember our idea being that we would always get guest artists. There would be a variant cover and a main cover, and this main cover was, look, hey, we got one of the image guys, one of the main image guys. We got Eric Larson. Eric was paid handsomely to draw this. I recall, I'll even tell you how much he got. He got $1,500 to pencil this wraparound cover, which was otherworldly for Harris Comics. They really shelled out. I was given this cover to ink, so these are my inks over Eric Larson, which was a challenge. And I remember carrying this cover home. They gave it to me at a convention, Harris Comics did. And I remember carrying it home in my luggage and being like, oh my God, this thing's precious. This is a double-page spread that Eric Larson penciled, and I got to ink it, and they paid all this money for it. Well, they lost my luggage. I remember completely panicking. It was one of the few times anyone ever lost my luggage on a flight, and it had this Eric Larson original art in it. They found it. I remember staying at the airport, like almost overnight, waiting for them to find the suitcase so I could not panic anymore. But here it is, and okay, very nice. It was fun to ink Eric Larson once. I remember there being this funny thing. Dan Fraga did a cover, and then Eric Larson did a cover, and then the two of them were talking about how much they got paid to do it. And Eric said, I got paid nice. Dan got a fraction of what Eric got to do his cover. I wanted Dale Keown, and I used to call Dale Keown and say, please just do a CYBERFROG cover. And he just wouldn't do it. I mean, he didn't need the money. And, he was, all of his energy was going into his own book, and nothing that we could offer him would make him draw CYBERFROG, and it still hurts my feelings to this day. Oh, the other person we went to was, we went to all my favorite artists. Eric was one of my favorite artists at the time. We also went to Derek Riggs. Derek Riggs is the guy who paints all the Iron Maiden Eddie album covers, all the t-shirts with Eddie. That's his artwork. And he hadn't done anything in a little while, and we were able to find him, his art rep, and talk to him, and he said, I'd be happy to do a fully painted CYBERFROG cover. It will cost you $10,000. And my heart sank, because that was just so much, but I thought, that's about what I make to do 2 issues of CYBERFROG. Maybe I'll just draw 2 issues of CYBERFROG for free, so that I could get a Derek Riggs cover. That was impractical. I would have starved. But I did learn a little about him, and I learned that he was a narcoleptic, which I still think is amazing. And that means he kind of falls asleep while he's painting, and that's why he doesn't paint very much. Anyway, he's a great artist. Let's crack this book open here and see what's up. Oh, this book is called Getting to Hate You. Yeah, that's lovely. Getting to hate you, getting to hate all about you. Okay, so I graduated a little bit from what I was doing in the first miniseries. When I first got to Harris Comics, everybody was showing around the Gaijin Studios art, like Adam Hughes and Brian Stelfreeze. And the thing that they were all doing at the time, they were doing these great big fat, perfectly clean coloring book style lines around their work. And I said, boy, is that what I'm supposed to do? And everyone at the Harris office liked that stuff. So I was like, maybe I should try to do that. So they're like, the first 3 issues of CyberFrog are awful. They don't look anything like my work. They just have these big fat sloppy lines around everything, and it looks like garbage. I gave that up, and I decided, yeah, I think somebody at a convention, when you're a kid, when you're like 22, everything that you hear, all the criticism that you hear, you internalize real quick. And anybody could have steered me either way, because it's like, they were telling me, oh, this kind of Gaijin style is great. And so I'm like, oh, well, I'll try to draw like that. And then somebody at a convention, a fan, said, yeah, you don't have skinny enough lines. There aren't enough little thin lines in your work, and that's what's in style right now. And I went, well, I can do that. That's what I was doing before. And this other stuff, I don't think it looks right. So I started getting small again. Colored by Ruben Rude and International House of Color. We used to call them IHOC. All right, so here's a nice establishing shot of New York City. And I would have lots of little hidden messages in here. And, yeah. Look, he's like, yo, what's up? You not down with the traffic boys no more, kid? Shut up, you sellout little bitch. Bastards. Yoshi, those guys were gang members. How did they know your name? I don't know. Fair enough. You're entitled to a few secrets. I got 1 or 2 of my own. Take me down to your place and I'll show what I mean. And he's like, word? And her secret is, never mind. And so they go to her place, and Yoshi is paranoid apparently, and he's got bad taste in movies. And they open up the door, and Bugs, because she's like, I might have this is his place. She's like, you have roaches, and yeah, not just roaches. This page is really colored strangely. I don't even know what to say. It's really strange. But here are some more CyberFrog enemies, and I decided he was going to fight all these like robot bugs. This is Dementipede. This is Rumblebee. This is Shockroach. And I don't know who this is. I'm sure we'll figure it out. I like Shockroach. There he is. I like Rumblebee. Very nice. And this book, of course, is very gory. Oh dear, what the hell was wrong with me? Okay, so they walk in there, and it looks like Rumblebee and the gang work for another gang leader. And here's Dementipede. He's got 100,000 knives for arms, and he's gonna threaten this little girl. And he says, "Shut up, little girl," and he cuts her right across. That is not okay for kids. Oh, that's not okay either. And then he picks up the piece of her head and he sticks it to the wall. Says, "This is a good place for a stick up." Now that was an old advertising campaign from the 1980s. You would take one of these kind of round hockey puck sized deodorizers and you would stick it next to the toilet and you'd say, "This is a good place for a stick up," and they were called stick ups. So that's vile. And here's Yoshi. He looks like he's going to throw up, and sure enough, his jaw extends, hyperextends, and he begins to vomit things. He vomits a Green Day CD, and and then Rumblebee grabs him by the hair. He says, "Let go of me, you murderous maggot." And he says, "I ain't no maggot, punk. I'm Rumblebee. Let's sort it out. Be humble, Rumble, but let these bitches know." And then Earwig. Okay, so he's Earwig, and he's got listening devices. He can hear things. Somebody's coming. And here comes our hero, CyberFrog. And CyberFrog has Negan's bat. How do you like that? He says, "Orkin Man." Now the Orkin Man is an exterminator. You call the Orkin Man if you have roaches that you want to kill. So CyberFrog's coming in here to kill some cockroaches. He says, "I'm going to rip these techno bugs a new anal pore." Now, bugs don't have buttholes. They have anal pores. I think that's true. I don't know if that's true. I think it is true. I might be thinking of fish. And there he is. He's got Negan's bat, and he comes up against this guy, the Dementipede, and he's like, look, he points because he's like Babe Ruth, and he winds up and then swing, boom, boom, home run, pops his head right off, and yeah, he broke the bat. He broke the bat. So listen, I was way ahead of Negan. You know, I was doing this way before he was on Walking Dead. And he jumps on, look at him, he's like Bugs Bunny. He jumps on his shoulders, Dementipede. He goes, what a maroon. Guess who, cutie? All these people he guesses. He says Olivia Newton-John, no. Lou Ferrigno, no. Frankie Avalon, wrong again. Well, I give up. Well, the answer is your death. And he grabs his arm, and he rips his arm off, and he uses it to cut Dementipede in half. And he says, looks like you're half the bug you used to be. So, I mean, poor Yoshi's apartment. I mean, it really is. Now he's got, you know, a bloody kind of Starship Trooper bug, bleeding green. He's got, his girlfriend's been decapitated. It's a rough night. He says, we outnumber you 10-1. And then CyberFrog goes, oh yeah? Well, boom, and he gets, look, he grows these guns. And he goes, dig this. Boom. Dance, varmints. And he starts blowing them away, and they retreat. And here we have this typical 1990s double-page spread. I mean, you know, these are great when you get to do these in comics. You get to spread out a little bit and draw a nice big image of your hero. And, you know, nobody's checking on the girl. I guess they assume she's not doing well. And his guns go away. And then he finds a clue. And it's a map. And he calls up Heather Swain. The art is actually a lot better. I gotta say, this is still pretty bad. But it's much, much better than issue 1. And he calls Heather a hooker, but he means it in love. And he wants some KFC. That's what he likes, KFC. Meanwhile, back at Ben Reilly's house, and Ben Reilly, this is Ben Reilly. He is not the Spider-Man version of Ben Reilly. He is, oh no, wait, yeah, it is. He is another guy that I made up. I think he came out before the Spider-Man Ben Reilly, and he is Deathfly. So his mom, Ben Reilly's mom, is singing Christian songs. She's got fresh underwear for him, and she's leaving his laundry outside the door. She doesn't know that her kid is dead. She has big eyebrows and a big forehead. She's very strange. And meanwhile, Yoshi is considering ending it all, I think, because he has been embezzling from a gang. And then Ben Reilly shows up with dogs for some reason and offers to, tells him to sell his soul to some Egyptian gods, and that's the solution to all his problems. Underground, here is a guy named Scorpion, and he is an Italian kind of scorpion man. Yeah, I mean, this is so hardcore, like 1990s. I'll tell you. Yeah, I don't know what he's doing, but he's doing something. And CyberFrog is waiting for his chicken, and Heather shows up with a bucket of it. This is where CyberFrog's living. He's living in this old burned out building. Heather took a cab over. And CyberFrog has this map that he gives her, and he says, hey, what do you make of this? And he's eating some chicken. I like when he eats chicken. And, yeah. And then he's bragging about his day. That's what he does. He likes to talk about his day to Heather, and Heather listens, but she's also trying to work things out. And she figures out that map, this X, is actually his building, and that's because there are bugs that are coming, and here come the swarm. And I guess that's what Scorpion was doing. He was sending his army of bugs to come get CyberFrog. And CyberFrog says there must be hundreds of them. And he says, oh man, Heather, I could barely handle half a dozen of these guys. This is too much. And she says, what, Froggy, this is no time to get cold feet. And he says, yeah, I know. Ah. And he starts to freak out a little bit. And then this is the splash page, the ending splash page. My God, Froggy, are you okay? And you just see his shadow here. And Heather looks scared. She's got a really bad haircut. And then here you have a real frog. This is a green tree frog. And he is saying, infestation part 2. Yeah. And that's coming up. Looks like there's a hidden message here. E pluribus frog king. I don't know if the out of many comes frog king. That is strange. Here's the ad for the next issue of CYBERFROG. Yeah, writer artist Ethan Van Sciver delivers this dramatic turning point. I didn't write any of this. This was all, in-house. They would do all this stuff. It's really strange. William Christensen, right here. He provided a pull quote, and he is now the owner of Avatar, where Rich Johnson works. It's another publisher. He was around back then, but he was doing something different. Here's me looking, I don't know, sticking my tongue out, and I've got a frog in my hand. And we've got some nice fan art. I mean, I kept getting fan art from kids. You'll notice that they're all copying Dan Fraga's art, not mine. Like, they're all copying his artwork. And yeah. Let's see if there's anybody here that looks familiar. Oh, Trent Canuga wrote a letter. And then we have ads for Vampirella, and that was where the money was. And I remember looking at everybody here, like all these artists, and going, wow, these guys are so good. And then I was here to pick up this painting from Frank Frazetta. I was at the MegaCon in Florida when he turned up with the original art for this painting. And I asked him for his autograph, and he yelled at me. He said, no. I was like, what? No, I won't give you my autograph. And already, it looks like Harris Comics had commissioned a statue from Sean Nagel of that painting. I remember all this going down. It was the 90s, the best of times. It was the worst of times. So this is CYBERFROG Reservoir Frog number 1. I mean, I hope you enjoyed this trip down memory lane. This was my creator-owned series. This character still looks cool to me. I mean, I still like the way he looks. I would just have to do it differently. I'd love to take another shot at him today, but I just don't have any time. Anyway, thank you for joining me, and I will be back. Probably I'll do issue number 2 tomorrow. Let's knock both of these out, okay? All right, bye. So Vox Day is mad at me, and he's mad at Diversity in Comics. I think he's pretending not to be mad, but he's mad. I don't know this dude. He just came out of the woodwork for me once. I think I was under attack by a bunch of liberals, and he offered me a job working on this alt hero. But anyway, he's calling me a moderate now, which is pretty much correct. And he's saying that moderates are not your friend. Listen, all of this presumes that there's some kind of culture war going on that we all need to pick up sides in. I'm not going to use this industry or my hobby as a staging ground for your culture war between SJWs and the extreme right. You guys are welcome to fight it out. You guys can do whatever you want. This business is a big tent. You can publish your alt hero book, and we'll see how well it sells. I know that doesn't matter because you've raised $250,000, so the risk is not there for you, and you do not have the same obligations to your books or retailers that other people have, other publishers have, so that's fine. Go ahead and put your book out. The SJW books are kind of, not really finding an audience, and they're going down on their own. My attitude is, and it's either SCIVER, not SCIVER, but that's a common mistake. My attitude is, Vox Day, you fight the left by letting the market sort it out, because the market is spitting out their product, and you offer a better product that is apolitical. Being the other side of the coin is not helpful. It's hypocritical, and all it does is kind of cause conflict and drives readers away. That's just not what I'm here to do. I think you'll find that diversity in comics, yikes. That I like the star there. That's pretty amusing. Diversity in comics kind of feels the same way. He's not about fighting your culture war. He's about kicking out culture warriors from the industry and the hobby that he loves. That's all, and that would include you. So I mean, you'll be surprised to find that out when you show up and you start putting out propaganda disguised as comic books. He's going to come out against you too. So I know, and it'll be confusing. You'll be like, "What the hell? Like, aren't you guys on the right?" Yeah, we are, but that's not what this fight is about. This fight is about saving the comic book industry and making it a place where everybody can enjoy comics again, and retailers make money and books sell, and it's comfortable and it's not so full of agitation. So I appreciate all this. You saying that you've never heard of the other two guys here, one of them me. All right, well, you did offer me a job, so you must have forgotten immediately. I'd never heard of you either, so it's fine. Yeah, good luck to you. Seriously, good luck. I hope your book does well, and I hope that these people who donated, some of them $5,000 to get this thing underway, this project underway. I hope they remain fans and loyal and buy the books, but then again, it doesn't really matter because you already got their money. All right, good luck.